The tilt is real.
Tilt is real.
This is when the tilt is real.
Welcome to another episode of The Tilt is Real Fantasy Podcast. Coming to you live from the chef's table, here are your hosts, James Crease and Juan Pena.
Let's go. Welcome in. It is November 16th. Almost done with week 10, and here we are live, the Tilt is Real Fantasy Football Podcast. Joined with me, as always, Mr. FF one of a kind himself, Mr. Juan Carlos Pena, and Mr. John JWN Swanson. What's going on, my fellas? How are you today?
Great, Chef.
Doing fantastic, Chef. Happy to be here Monday night, breaking down yesterday's wild week.
Oh, what a wild week it was, man. And I can't explain some of the games that happened. Obviously we had some weather games, but we had some missed performances from some guys that I really thought would have good games. And we're going to get into that in a little bit, but how are you guys hanging? How are you guys hanging in there today for fantasy? Do you guys need anybody tonight? Do you have anybody going tonight?
I don't. I have the Bears defense in one league, but that game's already over. I'm free and clear tonight. Juan, what about you?
Yeah, pretty fortunate so far, Mr. Swanson, that I'm free and clear as well. I don't have anybody going tonight. And in the leagues that I'm playing, I don't need any help. The games are already decided, and I had a pretty decent week. I went 7 out of 10 this week, so I'm back in business.
Nice. Chef, what about you?
Oh man, I'm pretty close, man. I need 36 points from Darnell Mooney and Allen Robinson in one league to see if I can squeeze out a victory. And it may happen. And I'm kicking myself, man, because I didn't play T. Higgins. The rain scared me away. But let's get right into the Sunday slate here, and we'll start it off just like we do on Sundays with our Sunday tilt. Texans versus Browns, man. Browns squeak out a close victory here, 10-7. Juan, tell me about this game, man, and how the weather really affected it.
That's exactly it, Chef. Like, in a nutshell, it was because of the weather. Like, you saw both quarterbacks underperform. They were underwhelming. It was tough to, connect on passes and throw the ball in that wind. And the team with the better running game ended up winning the game.
Yeah, that's pretty much how we thought it was going to go, right? It's going to be a ground assault all day. Speaking of ground, man, 19 carries for both Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb had a great return from IR, which was I was very excited about because he was a huge piece for me in a must-win league that I pulled out the W in. So yeah, that was a encouraging sign from the ground.
And that last run that he had to shut the game down, man, fantasy. I have no Nick Chubb shares whatsoever, but I was like, oh my gosh, whoever has Nick Chubb is going to jump through their ceiling.
Yeah. And
then he stops at the goal line, plays the right football move, and cuts off out of bounds. And oh man, if it was bonus land for those who have bonuses for long touchdown bonuses, your breath was taken away with that last run by Nick Chubb. But it was great to see him back in action. Next week, Browns going up against the Eagles, and the Texans versus the Pats. Two games that you're definitely going to have some fantasy value moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely, Chef. And the Browns were lucky to eke out that win, and they were able to hold on, and Nick Chubb made that play. But that hurt a lot of people in Vegas, too, because that was a 3.5 point spread at some points there. And if Chubb goes in the end zone, Cleveland covers, but
yeah,
he didn't go in the end zone there. So I know it hurt a lot of people's feelings that he didn't go in the end zone.
Yeah, feelings it didn't hurt with those who live in Cleveland.
Yeah, right. If you're a Browns fan, you're sitting pretty, man. 6-3 for the season, and
good for them.
It looks good for them, man. Yeah, it looks good.
Sure does.
And let's move right into our next game here. The Washington football team versus the Detroit Lions. There was no weather in this one. They played in a dome, and we quickly found out that DeAndre Swift is the real deal. Coming in 16 carries, 81 yards, and then 5 for 68 through the air with a touchdown to go on top. JP, Mr. Swanson, I'm sorry. I was, Mr. Swanson, since the bye week, DeAndre Swift coming in strong, and I compare him closely to Miles Sanders. What do we look for in the future with DeAndre Swift?
I actually compared him in this game. I compared his passing, his work in the passing game to Alvin Kamara. That's because that's really where Alvin Kamara lives, and you got to see Swift really. I mean, when you initially saw Swift, remember he dropped that touchdown that was thrown to him. I feel like that maybe got in his head a little bit, and he got his hands a little more sure than he was supposed to be, because he's come a long way since then. I guess going forward from here, excuse me, what they got the Panthers next week, then Texans, Bears, Packers. I don't know. I feel like he's still a flex for me. I think he was the real deal last week, but I still see Swift as a flex until he can do this sort of thing multiple weeks.
And Juan, I know you're a Swift fan big time. How do you feel what he did up against a Washington defense that was almost number one for run defense up against fantasy running backs?
Yeah, coming into that game, they were holding every running back down, everyone that they faced, and Swift was able to, curb that a little bit yesterday. And it was the usage, Chef. Like if you use him in the passing game and you're going to get him involved, he ran a beautiful China route on that touchdown where he faked like he was going in and spun back around, and the defender had no chance. So that gives you optimism. And Mr. Swanson mentioned the schedule. He does have the tough game against the Bears and a tough game against Tampa in Week 16. But other than that, he is definitely, his floor, I feel like, is a flex. And he's been averaging about 12 points a game, so fantasy-wise on the season. So I look for him to maintain that and stay somewhere in the flex RB2 conversation the rest of the season with a few chances to have blow-up games. He's going to face Houston, Tennessee, Green Bay. Like those are teams that he should be able to have success against.
Yeah, the Lions really crushed it this week. They were trailing in this one at one point, and I'm sorry, Washington was trailing, and they tied it up at the end, and then they were able to get the ball down and kick a last-minute 59-yard field goal to deflate the football team. But it was a miraculous thing how they drove down the field and got the field goal. But on the other side of the ball, Gibson outsnapped by J.D. McKissick, but still led Washington in fantasy points for the day with 22.5 fantasy points. Mr. Swanson, I know you're a fan of Gibson.
Big time, yeah.
Why don't you tell us about it a little bit?
Going into this game, going into any of these games, you do fear McKissick. You fear from a fantasy standpoint because he has been eating into the work from Gibson. And I have him in Dynasty. I have a lot of shares of him kind of all over the place. So the touchdowns here is the difference maker almost exactly. That extra touchdown pretty much put him over. Other than, I think they would have been, if Gibson didn't get that touchdown, they would have finished with, they would have been 1 point away from each other in fantasy points. 22.5 for McKissick and 23.5 for McKissick and 22.5 for Gibson. So it's still a little shaky going forward because they're using both of them. And Alex Smith is the difference maker here because he loves to throw the ball to McKissick, and the passing game is going to be the difference. So it goes matchup dependent kind of going forward, which teams give up more points to the fantasy running back through the air.
I like that.
One or the other.
Yeah, I like that take. And Washington going up against the Bengals next week. Gibson should be able to get some more work in there along with McKissick. And I don't mind them splitting carries as long as Gibson and McKissick are both fantasy relevant, and look for that next week as well.
Yes, sir. They're kind of doing the Browns thing with Chubb back. Juan, what do you got?
Yeah, no, I was going to say that they're one of those backfields that maybe two guys are sustainable going forward, just because, the game script is going to be in favor of one guy or the other. That'll make them go from RB2 to flex week in and week out, but they'll still have their value. Gibson's going to get the goal line work for the most part. If they're up, he'll get the carries. And if they're behind, then McKissick's going to get all the passing work. So they can both live. And right now, McKissick has 41 catches on the season already. So he's on a great pace to stay there and become like a weekly flex play.
Yeah, he's definitely off the waiver wire now. I don't see him not being owned in any fantasy leagues going forward, especially with the run that they're on. And we're gonna leap right into Lambeau, and the Packers win 24-20. It was a little bit closer than what we thought it was going to be. We even saw, speaking of leaping, we saw Aaron Rodgers attempt to do a Lambeau leap and caught his butt cheek on the fence there.
Fail. It looked more like he jump bumped the wall, and that's it.
It's like
Oh
that
my!
video of him at the basketball game when he was challenged to chug a beer from across the who was the other who was on the other side of that? I forget, but he had
I think Trubisky was the other guy.
was it
Yeah.
really?
I think
man.
that was a thing, a challenge issued by Trubisky.
But
Good
I mean,
shot
the
at me.
leap was warranted. I mean, the guy
For
always
sure.
plays well.
Oh, yeah.
2 passing touchdowns, and then his first rushing touchdown of the season, finishes the day with 26.4 fantasy points and one big, huge, monstrous pass to MVS for 78 yards and a score early in this one to get the Packers up.
And
MVS
here comes
I was just gonna say MVS, man. It's you never know. You never know when he's gonna hit and when he isn't gonna hit, and you got to like flip the script. If you think it's a game he's not going to hit, then you got to play him. It's like the Lockett Metcalf game, the back and forth between which one it's going to be. But Adam still had his day too, 86 or 8 for 66 for one, finishes with 17.6 points. So, he definitely had a game, but MVS took that. Was he the number one receiver on the week fantasy wise?
I don't know. I'd have to double check. D-Hop looked pretty good last night as well.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, the stat lines were close with D-Hop and MVS. You can't he's just here to confuse us, guys. Like he's here to, I had this monster game this week. Lazard comes back. What's the role going to be like? Does Rodgers still trust him? And you can't really trust the catches because it was only 4. So he just happened to break a long one. So I don't know how much I trust him going forward, but definitely a splash game for him.
And Chef, about the other side of the ball, what do you got?
I pegged Chris Conley to have a good game in this one, and boy, was I wrong. Keenan Cole was the victor for the Jags, 5 for 47 and a touchdown, and scored a touchdown on a punt return as well, which surprised the Packers. And you saw their faces change midway through the game when this happened. Unfortunately, it was just not enough to take over Lambeau. Even James Robinson, 23 carries for 109 on the ground. They were playing pretty good, and I think I just heard today that Luton will remain the quarterback for the next upcoming game against the Eagles. Minshew will be back at practice, but not sure when he will be full, ready, locked, and loaded to go. And I mentioned the Jags versus the Eagles next week, and the Eagles, man, they're slipping. Mr. Swanson, what is going on with your birds, man?
Chef, are we sure about that one right there real quick? Just before we go into it. Because the Eagles, next week, I thought they played the Browns.
Oh, I might be wrong about that then.
Yeah, the Jags are playing. Yeah, the Jags are hosting the Steelers next week, and the Eagles are going to Cleveland to play the Browns. So the Jags get the Steelers next week.
Oh wait, yeah, and we just mentioned that too. I didn't even pick up on that. I was too busy being upset about yesterday.
So does that add? So to jump real back to that for a second, that may help DJ Chark resurrect his fantasy week from this past week. If he's going up against the Steelers defense, we've seen some action up against them, and T. Higgins had a great game. We'll get into that in a little bit. Moving forward, I think DJ Chark is still a good play.
It does, but it kills the value for James Robinson, I think. I think this is the week, like tomorrow's the trade deadline. This is the time. I've been preaching it for a week. Go ahead and move James Robinson before he starts to put up stinkers against those good defenses that he's going to be facing down the stretch. And this is a great time to do it. He's going to play the Steelers next week and probably not going to give you much. And if you can move him for a piece going forward that helps your team get to the playoffs or win, do it.
That's a good point.
That's a great point. Moving on to MetLife, where the Giants win 27-17. Let's go into their bye week. The Giants D, man, they're holding up. They're doing their thing. Young group of guys. Despite a huge 56-yard touchdown by Boston Scott, I think the Giants held their own and deserved to win this game.
I hate to say it, but you're right, Chef. They did, and I was wrong picking the Eagles as my defensive, as my blitzkrieg without a paddle this week. For 2 weeks in a row, Daniel Jones did not turn over the ball, and I think that combined with your defense is really, really what did it for you guys. We're falling apart at the seams. I'm not going to jump into the
You sound like
90
you're getting emotional over there.
I was
A
going to say, I'm
little
not
bit.
going to jump into Eagles radio and call in like, yeah, we don't think it is. Yeah, it was the coach. And, like we're talking about Peterson and Schwartz, like we got to get rid of some guys. I don't think it's Carson. I'm not going to get into the 94 WIP morning phone calls, but it didn't look great. Wentz looked completely out of sync. I actually picked him up and started him over Cam Newton in a league this week. It wasn't a tremendous amount of a difference, but he went 21 for 208 yards, finishes with 6.72 fantasy points. Miles Sanders had a pedestrian game, kind of really not what you expected. 15 carries for 85 yards. He had the 2-point conversion, which helped a little bit. Finishes with 13.5. Fulgham had a quiet day. Bradbury really sealed him up.
He
man.
got shut down. Let's keep it 100%.
He got shut down.
Yeah,
he got shut down. Jeffrey coming back didn't really seem to do anything for anybody. It was just kind of a mess. No tight end love again. Goddard was pretty much irrelevant. So yeah.
Bradbury is the truth as far as cornerbacks go. And a little piece of news came through the wire today about the former cornerback for the Giants, Hakeem Baker.
DeAndre Baker, yeah.
DeAndre Baker, acquitted of all charges. Apparently there was some kind of conspiracy there against him. And, I personally badmouthed him a little bit when I got the news. It's the thing. It's the reaction part of things. But, hey, that's good for him, man. I'm sorry that he had to go through all that, but I'm glad to hear that he came out on the right side of it.
And
yeah, sure.
Chef, I don't know if he re-signs with you guys or not, or whether or not you guys even need him right now, because the defense is playing stellar. Like, you can't say enough about Jabril Peppers and Blake Martinez and the job they did on guys like Goddard, and they were able to pretty much contain the game. And then the biggest surprise for me in this whole game was, Mr. Swanson, your defense, 150 yards rushing they gave up to the Giants, and that wasn't supposed to be the case. Like, we weren't thinking Gallman was going to have success. We definitely didn't see Danny Dimes coming with 9 for 64 or whatever he had, or 67. Like, we didn't see that as being a part of the script, let's say, for this game. So it's a good sign for the Giants. They're going into the bye. I like their prospects going forward, Chef. And with the Eagles playing the Browns next week, and they still have some tough games coming up, that division's still wide open. The NFC least.
Yeah, even Darius Slayton coming alive, 5 for 93 through the air, and I'm liking what I'm seeing, man. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of my Giants after their bye week. Going into their bye week, they're playing strong, and look for them to keep moving in the right direction. I think Joe Judge has them in the right path.
Indeed. One quick thing to mention before we move on to the next game. News broke about a half hour ago that the Eagles have activated Zach Ertz off of IR, so now he's in the 21-day practice window. It's something to note, but I don't think it's anything that's really going to flip the script for anybody. Maybe in a tight end premium league, if he comes back and does the exact opposite of what he was doing before he got injured. But it's worth mentioning.
Well, if he comes back before week 12 when they play Seattle, that may help the situation out, especially for Wentz. He needs all the help he can get, apparently, because Alshon Jeffrey was on the field way too much. Way too much.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir on this one, man.
Let's move on to the next one, guys. The Buccaneers come into Carolina and whip them 46-23. Panthers were without CMC for this one, and now the Panthers may lose Teddy Bridgewater for some time. Juan, what do you got on that?
Yeah, I don't have much on the Teddy Bridgewater news, Chef. I know that he is going to get replaced though this week, and he's not going to be able to be available for them. And that team, I think that was the nail in the coffin yesterday's game. Like, they're pretty much done for the season now. Like, if you don't have Teddy Bridgewater, you still don't have CMC coming into this week. I think it's pretty much a wrap for Carolina.
It definitely does not look good, and we're staring down the barrel of PJ Walker.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't look terrible, by the way.
Well, no. Okay, so here's my question: would you, if you were somebody like me in a super flex league, I have 2 quarterbacks. I do not have another one rostered. I'm losing Drew Brees. Would you be willing to, I'm thinking I might go pick up PJ Walker? I have no choice.
Go get Jameis, right, Chef?
Go get
I mean,
Jameis
I'd have
or
to
yeah,
trade for
PJ
Jameis.
Walker.
I'd have to trade for Jameis in this particular league, folks. There are the top available quarterback at the moment is Taysom Hill,
Yeah, that's rough.
who is a fun flex if you're undefeated and you're like, why not?
Yeah.
But no one's gonna do that.
Yeah, you're not.
yeah,
I mean, can you really bank on Taysom Hill to be the starter? I don't think so. The way Jameis Winston came in, and you didn't see any crazy Jameis Winston long bombs or anything like that. He was just told, control the football. We're going to win this game. Nice, clean, just be a game manager. Yeah, and I think that may be the case moving forward for them when they go up against Atlanta next week.
Yeah, so speaking of game managers, I mean, Brady was on fire, right? Like Brady was the ultimate game manager, spread the ball around. Everybody got to eat, all the receivers. Evans had 6 catches. AB had 7. Godwin had 6. Like these guys all were able to perform. He spread the love and gave each tight end a touchdown just, for, giggles, right? And Gronk was actually the tight end 1. Chef, I wanted to ask you this. I was waiting all day. I wanted to text it to you. I wanted to talk to you earlier today. Was it surprising the lack of production that we saw out of the tight end position all throughout the league? Like 13.1 fantasy points is Gronk's final. That feels terribly low as the leading tight end in fantasy scoring.
Well, Jimmy Graham hasn't played yet this week. I'm still waiting for Jimmy Graham to come through. Jimmy Grandpa gonna toss it up on his walker, but
not seeing anything from Hockenson, or not seeing anything from Waller. It was kind of a weird.
A lot of guys.
Even Ebron, it didn't really happen this week in the tight end department. And you know what? Sometimes that happens. We see these big games, and I think Jonnu Smith was up there. Jonnu Smith got into the end zone on Thursday night, but. Outside of the top 5, man, it gets really murky, and Gronk comes along well in another matchup. They seem to have the rhythm, and the rhythm was set by Ronald Jones in this one. And this is my fault, and I will come out on air and say it. I was hoping it was Leonard Fournette, but Ronald Jones got the best of that Carolina defense. He had that long 96-yard run. 98. Oh, excuse me, 98.
Sorry, 98.
98-yard run where he just ripped the Panthers' hearts out with that. And it seemed like after that they had the motivation or the game script.
Momentum.
The momentum. That was the M word I was looking for. Thank you, sir. Nice. They had the momentum to just do whatever they wanted on the field, and it showed, and Brady just took it and ran. You look at the score, 46-23, but the Bucs have a tough matchup next week going up against the Rams. So it's yet to be seen on what they are. They have up and down games, and it's hard to peg, but for fantasy purposes, like we all are doing, it looks really, really good.
Yeah, it does, especially for the guys on the receiving end. Whether you're a Godwin and Evans and AB owner, it definitely looks good for you.
Quick notes on the Panther side of the ball. DJ Moore put up a great game, 4 for 96 and a touchdown. Pretty much the only winner on that offense.
And that shut down Curtis Samuel's value for sure.
We have to note that Teddy will not play, like we already said earlier, and CMC unlikely to play versus the Lions. That also came out today as well. So if you own the Panthers, man, it may get a little shaky for a little bit. So sit tight. Check in with us on Wednesdays on the Tilt is Real Fantasy Football Podcast, so we can keep you updated and give you the best insight to win your league.
Trade them if you can.
Trade them. Should I trade Robbie Anderson?
Trade them if you can. Yes, if you can pivot, Chef, go trade him.
I'm not getting rid of him in Dynasty, but
in redraft, if you can trade him for Tyler Boyd, who had a bad game, and that the rest of the season Tyler Boyd's going to play well and have good games, make that move. If you can get Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Christian Kirk, like if you can go get somebody else, go do it, Chef.
I hear you. I like that trade advice. Speaking of trade advice, we are part of the @JoinOurCircle_. Yeah, I got it. Finally.
I thought you were going to leave the underscore out, Chef. I was ready.
Nope. Check us out tonight at Fantasy Intervention on YouTube, on Twitter. It's @JoinOurCircle_. We are going live with a trade deadline special. What's the name of it, Juan? I know you pulled me into this thing, and I don't even know. I know we're playing some games, we're drinking. What's the name of
it? The trade deadline intervention.
All right. So I have to do some drinking, huh? Oh boy.
We're going to be playing a game. There's going to be points involved.
You got the right shirt on, Chef.
Oh, I figured as much when I heard I was going to be drinking.
Nice
Yes,
shirt.
sir. Well, only if we're wrong, Chef. Let's just be right, and we'll be sober as a heart attack.
Oh, it should be interesting. It's going to be a fun night. If you guys are available, come in and check us out.
Oh, him.
Out at is it me? Am I lagging? I'm lagging.
I'm not. I don't think. No.
Mr. Swanson, am I lagging? Check 1 2.
No, you're not.
No. Well, no.
No. Okay, good.
Hey, it's 2020. Sometimes you lag.
Let's keep it rolling right into the 4 o'clock games.
Let's do it.
The Raiders stomped the
The
Broncos
Raiders.
37-12. And man, what I thought was going to be a great game turned out to be a stinker, man. Locke injuring his ribs, status uncertain for next week. Only Jerry Jeudy, the best of all among wide receivers, with 68 yards, 4 catches. Man, it's bad. It was bad. But on the other side of the ball, your boy Juan, Josh Jacobs.
Yep.
Right. He finally looked every bit the part. I know it's against the Broncos, but they haven't been terrible against the run. So this was a good surprise to see that he kept pounding the ball. And it was just an overall team effort. Like the Raiders just imposed their will and ran it down their throat, because you saw DeAndre Booker also like have a great game. And he had over 80 yards rushing as well. So they just pounded the rock and they committed to the run. And Gruden, I think, is on the right track. And I'm excited for Jacobs. 2 touchdowns now. I think that's 9 on the season. Like he's producing the way I expected. I called for him to be a top 5 running back. So we'll see. I still have a few more weeks where he can get there.
Yeah, it was nice to see the Raiders control the clock when they were up, and Carr didn't have to pass it that much. Normally, we see him having to stretch the field, and we called Nelson Aguilar to be a good pick this week. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. It was a running back week for the Raiders, and it was good to see if you were a Josh Jacobs owner, but bad to see if you were betting on Henry
Nelson
Ruggs
Aguilar,
Nelson Aguilar, yeah,
Hunter
Edwards.
Renfro, yeah,
Waller, everybody, yeah.
Yeah, even Waller, like you said, like all tight ends really had a rough week. Rough week.
Indeed.
Yeah, Noah Fant had 3 catches. So yeah, everybody, all the tight ends struggled this week.
It be like that sometimes.
Yeah, unless they fell in the end zone.
Well,
anything else on this? Go ahead.
No, I was just about to segue it. The one team that is not really struggling as much anymore, the Dolphins win against the LA Chargers 29-21. And man, I can't believe it. It's Herbert's first game under 264 yards. He only puts up 187 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 1 rushing touchdown. Just not enough to get it done. And Tua on the other side of the ball, man, he's not doing everything. And I like that about what the coach is doing down there. He is not putting everything on Tua's shoulders. He's utilizing every single piece of that offense to move the ball. The defense is stepping up for them. It's giving Tua more time to be poised and comfortable in that pocket.
Chef, little known fact, right? The Dolphins right now, that's 3 straight games where Tua hasn't touched the ball until they've been winning 7-0. He's been handing a 7-0 lead every time he gets on the field. The defense has scored or the special teams have scored before he gets on the field. So that's a great way to, start your career, and come in and win 3-0. All he has to do is manage the game. 15 for 25. He didn't have to do much. And he comes in with a lead. And we saw some surprises in this game, Chef. And I know a few people have been picking this kid up. And I slept. I don't have any shares anywhere. And it's probably too late. I'm sure he'll be on the Waiver Wire Hero show this week.
Most likely.
Week, right? And, Salvan Ahmed he's going to be the Waiver Wire darling this week.
Yeah, he put up 21 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown. And it seems like the Chargers just didn't have an answer for that offense, to be honest.
In their defense, they didn't have Bosa. So in their defense, you know what I mean? When you're missing someone like that, he's a game wrecker. And when he's not in there for you, it hurts your team. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
And then the winner. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
And then the one receiver, it wasn't Devontae Parker. It was Akeem Grant, 4 for 43 and a touchdown. So it looks like Tua's spreading the ball around really and getting everybody utilized on the field, which is nice to see.
Yeah, find the open man.
Little breaking news here. A little bit of something.
Yeah, Kalen Ballage caught 5 passes. Breaking news.
Do we have legit breaking news? Do I need to drop?
I mean, it's really not that. I would really.
Yeah.
It's not that crazy.
Are you talking about Cowboys?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Break.
This just in. We have breaking news.
And breaking news coming in from Dallas. Andy Dalton was a full practice participant today and is on track to play next week, Sunday, versus the Minnesota Vikings.
Man, the Cowboys need all the help they can get.
Indeed.
They sure do.
That's good news. That's good news for them. I'm not sure if it's good news for Mike McCarthy. I don't know if his days are numbered, I believe, in Dallas. I think he's just a one-year fill-in.
Starting to get that feeling, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel good about it for the offensive weapons on the Cowboys, though. I feel like it's an uptick, and at least it gives you a little bit of stability and hope that at some point they turn it around. If you're stuck with one of them on your team right now, you're thinking it's doom, like you're done, and you can't trade them for anything right now because nobody wants them. So you're stuck with them, and you can hope that turns it around for them.
Yeah, I think it does. Coming out of the bye week, I think Zeke gets back on the right track with Dalton as quarterback, and you can see CeeDee Lamb.
Would you trade for Zeke? Mob GG wants to know, coming in right on time.
Ooh.
_GG.
I don't know, Juan. We talked about James Robinson earlier. Would you flip James Robinson for Zeke?
No, I've been saying trade James Robinson for someone, but I just don't like Zeke's schedule going down the stretch. And just because Andy Dalton's coming back, that doesn't mean that Tyron Smith is coming back, that La'el Collins is coming back. That offensive line is not going to get healthy, and it's still Andy Dalton. So I would temper my expectations. I would actually rather flip Zeke if I can get him off, because somebody thinks that there's optimism now with Andy Dalton. And if I can trade Zeke, then I think I will go that way.
Flip him to a Cowboys fan.
Right, if you can. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have Cowboys fans in your league.
That might be your only possibility.
Listen, we're all hurting for running back right now. So if you're blessed enough where you did pick up James Robinson and you have another running back on your roster, a James Conner or something like that, and you can flip Zeke for a star wide receiver, go for it. If you can get Allen Robinson in return or someone like that, get it and flip Zeke.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
outside of that breaking news, Chef Juan, do you guys have anything else for the Chargers Dolphins game?
Not really, man.
Fins
not
up.
really.
5 in a row, baby.
Up. Fins up,
baby.
man. They're looking good. And who do they face next week? The Fins?
In the next 3 weeks, we play
Denver, the Jets, and Cincinnati. So that's a nice lineup right there.
That feels like 3 wins, Chef. It feels a lot
like playoffs. It feels like playoffs before December, my friend. That's what it looks like to me on paper, anyway.
It feels like 9-3 going into the game against Kansas City. That's what it feels like, Chef.
Well, one team that will most likely make the playoffs, the Arizona Cardinals, hold their own against the Josh Allen Buffalo Bills. Cardinals win a close one here, 32-30, with the last-second bomb, 48-yard touchdown from Murray to D-Hop, the nuke bomb, I'll call it. Jump ball in the end zone. Man, did you see that highlight? Did you see the strength in my man's hands? He fingertipped that in the end zone. Over three defenders. He made Trey White look ridiculous.
Chef,
that's what he does.
There was nothing that, first of all, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer are probably Pro Bowl safeties in this league. Tre'Davious White is an all-pro corner, and all 3 of them were on DeAndre Hopkins. But it was a perfectly timed jump, squeeze of the hands, concentration to bring it down, and the play by Murray. Like I'd love to do it. Like they were saying it earlier on TV. Go outside right now, and Mr. Swanson, I know, would love to do this. Go outside right now and run 38 yards to the left, and then flip your hips and throw the moon ball up in the air and try to throw it 50 yards and see what happens to your body. Like you're gonna hurt yourself. Like this is that was a superhuman effort for him to do
he's a
that.
contortionist.
He
That's
did. 'Cause
that's pretty much what it is.
he gave the defensive end a dead leg to outrun him to the end, and then spun his hips around, running full 4.3, 4.4 speed, whatever he has, and flipped his hips. And they call it not the the Hail Mary, it's the Hail Murray.
Hail Murray.
Oh,
Murray.
I like
Hail
that.
Murray.
The Hail Murray.
Murray.
Yeah. And it was definitely amen to that because man, the Cardinals they come out with a win and that's the second time they've come out with close wins at the end to hold their own. Kyler Murray's looking like more and more like an MVP quarterback, man.
He really is, man. He really is.
It's funny because it's so fickle, this thing, because Josh Allen won that game. He made the MVP drive. He made the MVP throw. Stephon Diggs made the wide receiver one catch. That game was over. They won it. You went into Arizona and stole a victory. Great game for Buffalo. And then the Hail Mary.
Yeah, I couldn't believe the defense just couldn't stop them there at the end. And that fast-paced offense, you notice when they didn't take the timeout, they're like, what? The defense looked confused, like, oh, wait, we thought you were going to take the timeout. They're like, no, we're just going to run down the clock, and the last play is going to decide the game. And sure enough, they took their shot, the Hail Murray, and full of grace, man, because the Lord was with them on that one. Yeah. That's how it went down. But like you were saying, Allen on the other side of the ball, great performance yesterday. 29.36 fantasy points, 3 total touchdowns in this game. Even caught one from Isaiah McKenzie, which is not something you hear of very often. But hey, if you guys haven't seen it, go back and check the clip out because it was pretty how he just lunged right in. He looked like a gazelle hopping over defensive backs on his way to the end zone. It really is amazing how this kid is playing this year.
If they would have called that play on the other 1 yard line, he would have had a 99-yard touchdown. Nobody was going to stop him once he was in that open field. But it wasn't as pretty as the Philly, but it got the job done.
It wasn't as pretty as the Philly special, but that was also in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. So there's other implications in there that cement that into football history. But I appreciate that being in the same conversation because I love Josh Allen.
Yeah, he's a stat filler. He's one of those guys, man. Now he's got a receiving touchdown, rushing touchdown, and of course a bunch of passing touchdowns too. So it was a cool play to see.
He can do it all. Diggs kept doing his thing, man. 10 for 93 and a touchdown. Diggs looking great. How about Cole Beasley? Chef, you want to talk about Cole Beasley for a minute here? Let me ask you a question. Is Cole Beasley like the guy that you really, really want him to be when John Brown isn't there? And is that the only difference?
I don't think so. John Brown was there in this game as well.
After he got hurt.
He was still doing work, though. Beasley was doing work the entire time. And I don't mind Beasley on a week-to-week. He's almost like Jamison Crowder, except on a better offense to me. Like, that's how I relate Cole Beasley, but it's a shame because sometimes he's game scripted out. And when they're going to focus on the run, like we saw last week or a couple weeks ago when they had 2 guys against the Patriots, they had 2 guys go for 80 yards rushing. Beasley was a non-factor because they were focused on the running game. So I feel like it's game script dependent with Beasley, but I relate him to Crowder. And I don't know if it matters that Brown is in or out, but Brown is on the injury list for going into this week.
Yeah, and you can look at it in his past history as well. He really hadn't had a good game since the Jets in week 7 where they tore up the inside of the field. So I think that's the kind of matchup that we're looking at. If the stronger cornerbacks on the defensive side of the ball are sufficient enough, that's when you really see Cole Beasley activated in the offense. And like you said, like this week, 11 targets for 109 and a touchdown. Bills go into their bye next week and then come out and play the Chargers. So again, we should see a nice fair share of the wide receiver core from the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, good matchup against Justin Herbert in week 12.
And we saw Jakeem Grant for the Dolphins go off. So maybe that's a Beasley game, Mr. Swanson. That's something that he might be able to take advantage of a couple weeks from now.
Yep, I agree.
The Cards, though, they get the quick turnaround, Chef, and they're going to be playing this Thursday night against the next team that we're going to be talking about here in this matchup in the Seattle Seahawks. And we get a revenge game of that game that you mentioned, Chef, that Kyler Murray came back and won, and he kind of started to Kyler Murray's arrived. He beat Russ. Like now Kyler Murray beat Josh Allen. Can he beat Russ again?
And the way Russ played yesterday, going up against the Rams, and the Rams win this 23-16, it was really sloppy from Russ. All right. It's the second straight game with 2 interceptions, at least 1 fumble. He finished the day with 10.92 fantasy points.
Oof.
it doesn't look like the same Russ from the beginning of the season. And I think it has a lot to do with Chris Carson not being in the offense.
He eats off that play action, Chef. His whole career, it's been play defense, play action, control the ball, run the ball, and feed off of that and take your shots down the field. But if you have no running game, you don't have a reason to respect the play action.
He almost had one with DK Metcalf lined up on the left side, and he missed it. It touched his fingers. It was just a little bit too much out of his reach. And we all know that DK is one of the fastest guys on the field. So for him to miss DK like that, it was just unfortunate. DK Metcalf. But moving forward, I still like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Russell Wilson.
So speaking of Tyler Lockett, to break this right now, about 30 minutes ago, Tyler Lockett is dealing with a knee sprain ahead of Thursday Night Football. So that is also something to monitor.
That's not good news at all, man.
Nope, sure not. Nope.
Maybe David Moore makes the waiver wire heroes too.
Possibly.
Maybe they activate Josh Gordon.
Wow, good call, Chef. They've been holding that one up their sleeve. Good call, Chef.
Oh no,
this might
still
be
on
that
the
week.
roster. He's still on the roster.
Yeah.
Whoever it is, Chef, I want some of that because whoever it is going to get Kirkpatrick. And you saw that 15, 200, 3 touchdown game the last time they played from Lockett. So whoever replaces Lockett going into this game Thursday night, I want a piece of that. I want some shares of that.
Most likely it will be David Moore. But yeah, man, it should be interesting. Interesting enough to put a waiver claim in if you have any fab left or whatever your circumstances are there. But yeah, that's going to be a good one. Arizona, let's see. He 3 for 54 from David Moore the last time they played Arizona, but he could be in for a bigger share if Tyler Lockett isn't on the field. That's a good point there, Mr. Swanson.
We'll see what happens. Definitely something to monitor.
Speaking of things to monitor, Chef, speaking of things to monitor on the other side, Chef, what are we doing with this backfield?
Yeah. Man, we saw Cam Akers start the game. Darrell Henderson came in for the first touch. Then we saw Akers for a little bit. And then the game started to go along, and I think when they got down to the goal line, it was Malcolm Brown time. 2 touchdowns. Is he the goal line back going forward? He looked so comfortable in between the tackles on Sunday.
You'd have to think. I mean, this script, pretty much like the history of the way things are going, you kind of have to think that that's the way it's trending, right?
Yeah, he's been so up and down like the whole season, McVay, as far as who's the guy and who's got the lead carries. And even the goal line work, we've seen Darrell Henderson come in just for a goal line carry. And Akers got a couple goal line touches too. He just wasn't able to convert them. So if Brown converted, maybe he's the guy going forward. But I don't like all 3 of them right now. Like, it's just so hard to choose between them. I feel like they're the Ravens West.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. That's the perfect way to put it. Ravens West.
Yeah,
the Ravens.
It's
the
tough to call.
The Elmer Fudd Ravens.
And we got the wide receivers wrong on the show yesterday. We were saying that Cooper Kupp was going to have a good game, Robert Woods was going to have a good game, but the real breadwinner here was Josh Reynolds, who we did say on yesterday's show that he could be a viable flex play, but 8 for 94 yards, 17.4 fantasy points. He's the only one I really wanted to write home about after this matchup.
Yeah, big shout out, Chef, to Dave Kluge. And we do our show on Thursday nights, breaking down the numbers. And he called this. Like, we broke it down and we were talking about Woods and we were talking about Kupp. And they're the obvious names. They're the guys that you think are going to perform. But he called that Josh Reynolds was going to have a big game this week based on the matchup. And we saw it. I thought all 3 might have a chance to eat, but the game wasn't up to that because of Russ's struggles and Russ's turnovers, and the game script got away. Otherwise, if it turns into a shootout, more than likely Woods and Kupp are going to get theirs. But because it wasn't, there was a lot of play action going on based off the run, and Reynolds ate. And good for him.
Speaking of getting theirs and moving on to the next game, the Saints win 27-13, and Alvin Kamara. Oh, if you drafted Alvin Kamara this year, you were rewarded once again. 8 carries or only 15 yards, but he
Everywhere.
got in the end zone twice. And then he looks like a wide receiver with 7 receptions for 83 yards and in the end zone, 3 total touchdowns for Alvin Kamara today.
So happy. I love him. He's great.
He's the whole offense, man. Like the offense is not Michael Thomas anymore. It's Alvin Kamara's offense.
And
what's up, Justin? Welcome back.
Do things change a little bit going forward here with the news of Drew Brees? Chef, you want to take that? You want to let everybody know what happened to the poor guy? Because
well, he was taken out of the game in I believe the fourth quarter. Said he was dealing with some chest pain. Turns out, halftime. Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. Turns out he sustained a couple fractured ribs and has fractured ribs.
Can't drive the car. I got the fractured ribs.
Yeah, and he's dealing with a little bit of a Tyrod Taylor case with a collapsed lung. So the optimistic timeline is 2 to 3 weeks per Dan Graziano from ESPN. But man, we're looking at Jameis Winston coming in to start the game next week.
And Jameis Winston has 17.3 fantasy points per game in his career as a starter. The problem is that sometimes it's 30 and sometimes it's 6. So like you don't know what it is that you're really walking yourself into with Jameis. But definitely that's the guy to grab. I don't think it's going to be Taysom Hill. I think he'll be a little more involved maybe than what he has been. But I think it's Jameis. And I think that might spread it up, Chef. And like Traquan Smith could be somebody that benefits from this because there's more deep balls involved. And Emmanuel Sanders as well, who's great with a route running and the double moves. And if that happens, that opens everything up for Michael Thomas and actually might not be the worst thing for this offense as long as they can keep Jameis on a short leash and not turning the ball over. And you hate to see it, right? But you hate to see this happen to anyone, especially a good dude like Drew Brees, and he should be back in time for the playoff run and all that. But if Jameis gets in there for fantasy, that could help all the weapons.
Yeah, and I think Jameis, we saw Jameis in Tampa, he was producing. He took his shots. I don't think Sean Payton will let him take as many shots, but like you said with Emmanuel Sanders, I think Emmanuel Sanders is very intriguing with Jameis Winston under center. And on the other side of the ball, Mr. Brandon Ayuk, he's doing it. He's doing it. 7 for 75, a touchdown on 14 targets, 19.7 fantasy points. He was the only bright spot for the 49ers on this one. And I really couldn't see anything else to write home about.
Yeah, no, and we were fading him. I was fading Ayuk a little bit. I did start him in a couple leagues, but I was fading him with the matchup with Marshawn Lattimore. You just didn't expect to see him be able to perform. But he's another guy that's like Debo, where they just put him all over the field, and you really don't know where he's going to line up. So he's not always going to be on Lattimore or on anybody else. They use him in motion. They use him as fake a jet sweep and then throw the ball to him, and that's what you saw yesterday. So and he got the touchdown. So someone like that is a jack of all trades, like a Curtis Samuel type. You got to start those guys. You got to put them in your flex because week in and week out, they're going to get the usage.
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
They are a Swiss Army knife.
Yep. Yes, sir. Before we jump away from this game real fast.
This is actually perfect because we're on this game. So it's a nice one right here.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it in here. Mob_GG wants to know, at this stage of the season, as a playoff favorite, is my Kamara untradeable? Yeah.
I wouldn't want to trade Kamara away.
No, I wouldn't. He's gotten you here.
I'll do it for a bundle. You know what I mean? Like it depends on the package. Like what are you?
Be a bundle,
right? What are you offering me? You know what I mean? What do you got coming back my way? Everybody's got a price. You know what I mean? Every asset has a price. We just got to start the negotiation somewhere.
I mean, we got to look at it. Do you really want to get rid of one of the top running backs in the league when they play Atlanta twice, Denver, Philly, who we just saw Wayne Gallman bust up, at Kansas City and Minnesota in the weeks 15 and 16. I don't know if I'd get rid of Kamara, man. He might be the only reason why you're going to get into the playoffs this season due to everything else that was going on in 2020.
I'm one of those guys. I haven't been 4 out of my 5 leagues this year, and he has been excellent for me. He is keeping me alive. He's keeping my fantasy team relevant. There's only 1 week he didn't do that, and they were on a bye. So there's that. So yeah, well, man, my advice is to hang on to that boy, man. Unless the price comes in at like they give you one of every position. Like they give you Kelsey, they give you
Yeah, I was
give you
gonna, I was really gonna go at you with that one. I was gonna tell you right now, like
really,
yeah, that's exactly where I was going. I'm giving you
really.
Jacobs, Allen Robinson, and Kelsey. You're turning me down. You're
Jacobs,
not.
Allen Robinson, and Kelsey
You're
for
not turning me
Kamara.
down. You're
I'm
not turning
trading
me
that.
down.
Yeah, I'm taking that. I'm taking
Yeah, I
that.
think I'm taking that trade actually.
So there's a price, and I didn't even go big boy on you with Allen Robinson and
No.
Jacobs. I kept it kind of cool. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about Dalvin Cook or anything. No. Somebody else, something like that. And I think you take it.
Yeah.
I think I would at that. But I mean,
So everybody
yeah,
has
that's
the price. It depends on what you can get. Mob GG. It depends on what you can get and how you
for
look
sure.
at the other positions.
Very true. Very true. It's always specific.
But it better be a bundle.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Let's
All right,
move
guys.
on.
Yeah,
Speaking of bundles, Chef.
Yeah, I like that segue. There's a bundle
Speaking
of
of
wide
bundles.
receivers in Pittsburgh, all over 21 fantasy points this week. Claypool with 2 touchdowns in this game. Man, we just keep seeing Big Ben do his thing over and over. 333 yards, 4 touchdowns, finished with 29.3 fantasy points for the week. And the Bengals really did not have an answer for him in this one.
We knew this going in, Chef. We predicted this going in. We knew that this is crazy because this game wasn't affected by the weather, even though it was affected by the weather, and they were still able to sling it and throw the ball. It's not much of a difference. That storm, it was just a matter of a different time that it passed through, but they got the same storm that the Cleveland Browns got. And you saw that game 10-7. They couldn't get anything done. They didn't even have 300 yards passing combined. And then Big Ben goes off. And not only did he just go off and get a bunch of yards, each one of those guys had double-digit targets.
Yeah.
And now for Deontay Johnson, that's the 5th time in all 5 games that he's played the full game. He's had double-digit targets, and he took advantage and went 6 for 116 and scored a touchdown. So, like, what do you do with this team when all of them are clicking and you didn't even need Ebron and you didn't really run the ball too much with Connor? Like, they're looking like they're a juggernaut. They're going to be a serious problem going down the stretch.
Yeah, 9-0, the only undefeated team in the league, and man, like you said, they didn't even need Connor. Connor only had 6.8 fantasy points, and they play the Jags next week.
Oof.
Like that, and I'm like, and this was a game where you could have played Connor, and I know it's not on the show sheet, and we won't take too long with it, but Connor was supposed to be an RB1 this week.
Indeed.
Like, what
next week
happened?
Too. Against the Jags next week. Don't you have him as an RB1 next week? I mean, maybe
You
low end, but you should,
But
right?
then again,
Good.
Aaron
Yeah,
Jones
good.
only put up, 13 fantasy points? So we don't know going forward how James Conner is going to be playing in this offense. It's not game script dependent. It's just a
Right.
matter of how much can they rely on those pass catchers. And it feels like Big Ben wants to throw this ball. He wants to go out, and it may be his last season, and he wants to go out slinging it, and they have the weapons to do it. Another guy that I'm liking, but not fulfilled. No fulfillment in this one is Joe Burrow. He's having his rookie downs, but he connected with T. Higgins, and T. Higgins really, man, 7 for 115 and a touchdown. Finished the day with 21.5 fantasy points. With him and Tyler Boyd, outside of those two, are you trusting anyone else on this offense moving forward for fantasy? Mr.
Not
Swanson?
Not until Joe Mixon comes back now. Those are the only 2 names I can think of because I'm not trusting AJ Green. The tight ends are out of my realm of possibility. So yeah, it's just those 2 until Joe Mixon comes back.
Yeah, it's a shame, man.
Yeah. It is. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. But they're playing Washington next week. I don't know. Is Mixon looking like he's coming back next week?
He should be. Yeah, he should be. He was almost ready this week. He should have went this week. I guess they just gave him an extra week off.
That's a smart thing to do.
Against the Steelers, that was a smart thing to do. And now we saw Swift go and do a little damage. So maybe we fire up Mixon, next week away.
I would definitely play Mixon next week. If Mixon's playing, you have to start him because he could just come out and blow up the day. He's done it already once this year.
Nick Chubb just came back and he had a great day too, and I could put him in the same category. So,
and let's help out Mob GG real fast.
Yeah,
I'll put it up on the screen
all the time.
So Mob G wants to know AJ Green, Marquise, no grease, droppable. Is he droppable?
I think AJ Green is droppable. I think Hollywood Brown still has value to where you could trade him depending on when your trade deadline is. I wouldn't drop him outright. It depends on how big your league is and who else is available. But I would say out of those two, AJ Green, I would drop. I would drop him in my leagues, but
Yeah,
I mean, Marquise Brown is getting those targets. He got 6 targets last night, but he's just not completing his catches. And some of them were easy passes that he should have had.
Yeah, and some of them were intercepted by the Patriots yesterday too.
J.C. Jackson.
Yeah, exactly. So here's what I might do, Mob GG. Maybe find a team in your league that has Kenny Galladay, and they're light and because he's injured or something like that. A bunch of guys that are hurt. And I'm not saying trade for Kenny Galladay. I'm just saying find a team that's light at receiver or has injury concerns at receiver and take them both and try to get you someone like Christian Kirk or, a lower, like under the radar kind of receiver. Because instead of just dropping a guy and trying to find something in free agency, try to move it for something. Try to move those 2 pieces for one. And that way that person at least has a full roster and they think they might have more options. And you get yourself a player that you can play week in and week out with a little bit more certainty than Marquise Brown.
That's some good insight there, man.
That is some good insight. I like that.
Scheming. All right. We're scheming.
Speaking of Marquise, no grease, let's move right into the Sunday night football game.
Do it.
Man, the Patriots, they pull one out in a storm. And do you call this a storm? I called that a storm last night, man. Mm-hmm. That looked ugly. Patriots win 23-17. And I'm starting to come back around on Cam Newton, man. Second week in a row that he hasn't really made any mistakes. He was pulling the Daniel Jones move, being safe with the football, had 2 total touchdowns on the day. Didn't really throw too much, obviously, with the weather, but when he did, he was 13 for 17 in bad weather and got a touchdown. So I'm okay with Cam Newton moving forward. Rex Burkhead, big winner on the day here, man. 6 carries for 31 yards and then 4 receptions for 35 and 2 touchdowns. One was from Mr. Jacoby Myers, wasn't it?
Yeah, indeed. But Jacoby Myers played a little bit of a college quarterback, high school and college quarterback, so he knew what he was doing with that ball back there.
That's true.
Dude, I saw the transition videos, and I like Jacoby Myers, and he's pretty much what we all wanted N'Keal Harry to be in this offense, and what we hoped for N'Keal Harry to be. And obviously, Jacoby Myers just took it upon himself. It's like, hey, this is my shot to shine, and he really is, man. And he put a raindrop in there in the corner of the end zone for Burkhead, and the Patriots come out the winners on this one.
A big part of it was Mr. Swanson's boy, Damian Harris, going off for 22 carries for 121. Like, you didn't see that coming against that Ravens defense. And I was so angry, Chef, yesterday. I wanted to scream at the TV because for a second there, Al Michaels was saying, oh, well, this Ravens defense isn't very good and they can be had, and saying things along those lines. And I'm waiting. I'm like, context. And finally, he was like, Chris Collinsworth came in and saved it and said, Calais Campbell isn't playing. LJ Fort, your middle linebacker, isn't playing. Like, please tell us why this is happening. You know what I mean? Like, explain to the people that don't know that that's happening. Because 6'8", 300 pounds, like, I can see it's not there. Like, you can see that the holes are open because that dude isn't in the middle. So
Calais Campbell isn't playing.
As soon as Chris Collinsworth, I hated myself for thanking Chris Collinsworth. I really did, because I don't usually thank him for much, but I had to thank him on that one. Thank you. I do too.
I like Collinsworth.
I like Collinsworth. He's all right in my book, man. He killed me the 1 week.
I like those guys.
He killed me the 1 week when he called the Russell Wilson. I think it was the Cardinals and the Seahawks game when he kept saying mini moon balls. He's like, there goes the other moon ball. Yeah, a little moon ball action there. And because he threw that mini moon ball, I'm like, oh man, Colin, calm down, buddy. Calm down, Chris.
Mini moon ball.
Mini moon balls. But Ravens, they should bounce back next week going up against the Tennessee Titans. Andrews finally came alive a little bit in this one. Saw him get some targets, 7 for 61 on the day. He actually tied Gronk for head in the tight end department. Jimmy Grandpa coming up tonight.
Kyle Rudolph. Did you say Kyle Rudolph? Oh, Jimmy Graham.
Nah, you really think it's going to be Rudolph?
I don't know, man. I just have this weird feeling like it's a 2-touchdown game for Rudolph out of nowhere, dude.
Like it was for Irv Smith
Really?
last week. Huh,
Okay.
Interesting.
All right.
I'm looking forward to this game tonight. It's gonna be a fun one to watch. That's for sure. But the Pats get a juicy matchup next week going up against the Texans. And if they play anything like they've played for the past 2 weeks now, I know it was the Jets, and then they beat the Ravens in the rain. But if they play like they've played in the past 2 weeks up against the Texans, I think the Texans can be had.
Oh, for sure. Especially we just saw the 230 yards from the two running backs from Cleveland. Like, you can expect this to be coming. Like, you can expect Damian Harris to have a blow-up game again. Like, he's going over 100 in this game.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Ooh.
Yeah, Damian Harris coming in
let's
hot for
go.
another 100-yard performance for sure.
Okay.
It could be him and Burkhead, but
I mean, it's always going to be him and someone else in New England. But it's nice to really start to narrow down that clear cut, as clear cut as Belichick's going to allow it to be, as far as the running game. That one guy, because usually it's just it's a 12-headed monster, and it's a different guy every game.
As long as he doesn't get Sony Michel involved in the action and he takes 10, 15 carries, I think it's Damian Harris's all day. As long as but if he's active, I'm going to get real scared. I got to be real tight going into that game.
That's a good
point. If they bring back Sony Michel, that's just going to cloud that backfield up more so than what it was cloudy on the field last night.
Hey, real quick, do you think that Belichick somehow controls the weather? Because it was bad last night, but not as bad as that last possession. Like,
absolutely,
the timing. Like, it was just, I was a little bit, maybe I had a drink or two, but I'm like, look, it's not it's too much of a coincidence that now Lamar can't see. Like, J.K. Dobbins can't catch a ball because it's a monsoon. Like, it wasn't a monsoon when they had the ball. Like, why did it just suddenly turn? And then when the game's over, they're doing the interviews. Everybody's good. It's just a little drizzle.
Like, I think it came down to I think the weather did, obviously it played a part in it.
I think the weather is some teams.
You see some teams where they practice in cold weather, and I believe they were saying that on Thursday it rained, and he made their team practice in the rain, in that cold weather. So he gets them ready for it. And I'm sure he looks at every single angle he could and said, okay, wind's blowing this way. We're going to get that ball first this way.
Wait a second.
Listen, Matt,
I wouldn't be surprised. No, this is going to be totally stupid, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bill Belichick has a massive facility located somewhere in the wilderness of Massachusetts where he takes his players, and this entire facility, he could control the weather. All right, we're going to run this play. It's going to be 35-mile-an-hour winds. This is the temperature. This is the rain. And every player on the Patriots learns how to play in every single different kind of possible.
They have a weather machine built in inside of Gillette Stadium.
It's big enough
in their practice facility. Why not? Turn the sprinklers on and let's go. You know what I mean? Like, you never know what he's doing. But if anyone was going to be an evil genius out of all the, yesterday we got the great question about who would win the Royal Rumble out of all the coaches in the league. And I said Belichick because he's going to cheat.
You said Belichick.
Yeah, because he's going to cheat.
You ain't tired.
Yeah, he's going to throw Brian Flores and Vrabel over the ropes after he convinces them that since they used to play with him, let's combine and throw everybody else out, and it'll be just us three at the end. We'll be friendly, and then when they toss somebody over, he'll just come and toss them over. I win Royal Rumble. So I think he might be the one. If there was one guy that's an evil villain and has the facility set up and a way to control the weather and whatnot, it's him.
Yeah, he is the doctor. He's like the Dr. Evil of coaches in the league.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I like that.
Clearly.
I love
and
that.
You know what? Matt Skura, their center from the Ravens, had 3 bad snaps that killed drives. The one where they were going for it on 4th down, that Mark Ingram was in the Wildcat and he fumbled. And then there were 2 more that were really bad to Lamar Jackson. So they had issues, but the Patriots had no issues. So back to reality a little bit instead of joking around. It was those 3 plays were what the difference in the game, because they killed 3 drives for the Ravens where they were trying to build momentum and trying to get things going. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game to watch, and they kept it interesting, man. And it was a primetime matchup that I actually enjoyed watching. I look forward to both teams playing again next week.
We have 3 on the slate this week coming up. Like, all 3 matchups are going to be absolutely fantastic. Thursday night is Seattle and Arizona, right? In Seattle. Then you're going to have the Sunday night game is the Raiders and the Chiefs rematch. That the Chiefs should be coming for blood coming off the bye. Like, that's the only team that beat them, the only blemish on their record. And I don't remember what the Monday night game was, but I think that's a really good one too, because I know I said that there were 3 in a row that were all going to be good.
I'll check it out for you real fast.
let's
It's
find
the
it
Rams
now.
and Tampa Bay.
There you go. That's a monster game. I knew Tom Brady was involved, but yeah, the Rams and Tampa Bay, like that, all three
He's always involved with something.
they're all potential playoff games. Like all 3 of these are games that we might see at some point in the playoffs.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all those teams should make the playoffs this year.
Right.
All right. That wraps it
let's
up for
get into it.
Yeah, let's get into Monday night, man.
Oh boy.
Keynotes for
boy.
this one, if you haven't heard yet, now you know. David Montgomery, he is out for this one. I'm still waiting on news for Cole Kmet. That's why I've upgraded Jimmy Grandpa in this one. Without Cole Kmet, I think Jimmy Grandpa does something special against these Vikings. Vikings are the 20th against the tight end position, giving up 8.8 fantasy points per game. Now, I've just confessed my love for Jimmy Graham. Mr. Swanson, who are you looking at from the Bears to really show off tonight?
Allen Robinson. And I'm going to throw it to Juan to tell you why.
Allen Robinson, 9 targets in pretty much every game this season. Absolute target monster. If he's right, which I'm not sure because I think he's a little bit banged up coming into this game. Was he, Chef? But if he's not
a little bit.
Yeah, if he's not nursing anything, everybody's hurt in the NFL. But he should be the one that dominates these matchups. I'm not sure if McKenzie's going to play one of the corners for the Vikings. They've already been putrid against the pass anyway. So if they're going to have any kind of success, I expect this game to be a little bit more fast-paced, a little more scoring than everybody's expecting. And I think that he, Darnell Mooney, and Anthony Miller at some point should have success. And you're going to need to at least score 20, 23, 24 points to be able to win this game. It's not going to be one of those. So like the Vikings that are going to get some against the Bears, I know they have a good defense and it's vaunted, but the Vikings will get enough to make Foles have to throw the ball.
Well, I have a little bit of news coming in. Cam Dantzler, a cornerback for the Vikings, usually would get paired up with Allen Robinson, is out for tonight.
Oof.
So that opens up the slate for Allen Robinson to really get in there and get the job done. It opens up
opens it up for Anthony Miller too.
Anthony Miller in the slot, and then Darnell Mooney stretching the other side of the field. I think Nick Foles is going to throw the ball, especially with David Montgomery out on this one. Yes, they upgraded Lamar Miller. They have Ryan Nall and Cordarrelle Patterson, I think, gets a little uptick in carries. But I think it's going to be the throwing game that they are going to lean on in this one. And I think because of that, Foles could make some mistakes, and the Vikings squeak through on this one on the back of Dalvin Cook.
Due to Foles making mistakes, really kind of like starting that off and firing up that hole.
Well, that was the whole point. But
I mean, I'm asking. I'm like, due to like the reason that they would squeak that through is because of Foles making mistakes.
I think it's going to be it's going to be a close game. Obviously, Chicago, top 5 defense in the league against every fantasy position. They really don't have too many holes.
Wine guy, what's up?
And then, they're top 12 in the running back defensive department, only allowing 16.6 fantasy points a game. Expect Dalvin Cook to be a little bit lower in production than he has been in the past 2 weeks. But I still think I still think Minnesota can get the job done tonight.
Even if Dalvin Cook is a little bit lower in production than he was the last 2 weeks, he still finishes as the RB1 for week 10.
Well, I mean, Kamara really put it up.
Yeah.
Kamara would be
he set the bar really high. Kamara
would be the only other one.
Thursday, Dave Kluge and I were having the same discussion, and I said, if there's anyone who's going to top Dalvin Cook, it's going to be Alvin Kamara, at least for this week going into that matchup, because I know the 49ers give up a lot of passes to the running back and all that. So we had that conversation. So maybe like he's going to perform and he's going to do great, but Jacobs had himself a day and had 29 points. So the bar is kind of high for him to be up there as finish as number 1. But if anybody can do it, these great defenses, Chef, we've seen it. Miles Sanders gashed the Steelers. Every once in a while, you see there's a break in that defense, and Roquan Smith over pursues, and a safety commits on a blitz on the other side, and you can gash them. And if anybody can gash people with explosive plays, it's Dalvin Cook. And real quick before I stop talking, my man Vinny Sacco, the wine guy, you're my favorite wine guy. So thank you for making us your favorite football gurus. You're my wine guy for life, my dude. I was telling somebody this week about you about the Chimera tattoo, my dude. So thinking about you, bro.
Nice.
I hope you're having fun in Florida.
Chimera tattoo.
No,
Can you
Chimera.
elaborate on that?
Cabal Ferrer is a famous wine, and he's got the logo.
Yeah, he's got the purple angel on him, right?
Yeah, that they make the
Might be
purple
good.
angel as well. Yeah, so yeah, that's he's got the tattoo on him. So shout out to the wine guy.
Shout out to the
Shout out
wine
to the
guy,
wine
man.
guy.
And if you're in Florida with Verlasso Salmon, tell them we said what's up.
Oh, they're down there on a trip, huh?
I believe they're down there working down there with Carmizzle.
Yeah, they're opening up a banger.
Oh man, the crew's back.
Franco
in town.
Harris. We're opening a restaurant with Franco Harris.
Right. Franco Harris, my man.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think that about wraps it up for this week.
Yes,
if anybody that's watching wants to get a last minute question in, we're open for the next couple minutes while we're wrapping up. Anything else you want to take away from this Monday night matchup? Any sneaky plays? Juan, you had mentioned Kyle Rudolph at the beginning of the show. Tell me a little bit about Kyle Rudolph and why you think he can possibly get 2 touchdowns this week.
Familiarity, the fact that he's the one guy that knows the offense, and down in the goal line, that's the one guy that usually gets lost. So you go down there as a defense, and you're the Bears, and you're going to put Kyle Fuller on Thielen, you're going to put Jalen Johnson on Justin Jefferson. Somebody's going to have to try and stop, Dalvin Cook. You're going to have to crowd that box. So Kyle Rudolph sneaking out on some kind of play action feels like the game script, the way it would go. And he may get 1 or 2 of those opportunities because of Cook's success and the fact that they can get down there in the red zone. And maybe Kyle Rudolph is the one that sneaks away and gets open for a touchdown. And he's done it before where he's had multiple touchdowns and just 3 catches, 15 yards, but 2 of them are touchdowns. So it wouldn't shock me if that happened. Yeah,
no, I could see it happening, him coming in as that 4th receiving option behind Dalvin Cook. I kind of like that. Or behind Justin Jefferson, however you rank them. One quick question coming in from Mob GG. What to do with David Johnson? Hold, drop, trade.
Keep, trade, cut.
Keep, trade, cut.
Here we go. A little warm up for you, Chef. Keep, trade, cut. What are you doing?
Okay.
I'm trading David Johnson. I already have in one league, especially in Dynasty. He's getting up there. I believe he's 28 years old now, and he's not the same David Johnson. He is on IR as we speak for at least the next 2 weeks.
At least
so
next 2 or 3.
If you can get rid of him, I traded him in a Dynasty league for it was Zach Moss and an early 2nd round 2020 first pick. I know another option if we're talking Dynasty, Damian Harris was another guy that I wanted to get a piece of for David Johnson if I could with a supplemental pick involved as well.
Yeah,
he does play the Colts.
Chef, yeah, I was going to say, there you go, Mr. Swanson. Tell him the schedule.
He plays so if he comes back week 13, he plays the Colts week 13. He plays the Bears week 14, the Colts again week 15, and then against the Bengals in championship week 16. So if you can get rid of him, for something. Don't just drop him. But I'm saying trade him.
Yeah, I'm not going to drop him. I would hold on to him if I couldn't get rid of him, especially with that Bengals matchup in week 16.
Yeah. Word.
We got one more coming in from Vince. Go ahead.
Which one of our horrendous NFC East teams is going to host a home playoff game? It's the Philadelphia.
It's looking pretty
Eagles.
blue, baby. It's looking pretty blue.
That damn tie.
Cowboys.
That damn tie is going to come back and ruin everything, and the Eagles are going to win the playoff game.
That's what's going to happen. It's going to be great. Vince is a big Cowboys fan, so we have the 3 holding down the NFC least here. I got a buddy who's a Washington football team fan. I'll throw him in. What?
I will say this though, on paper and still, if they somehow get any of those offensive linemen back, technically the Cowboys are the best team. They do have the best talent and the best pieces, and it's not like it's far away.
Should have been
a couple games. Yeah, I'm telling you, like even without Dak, Andy Dalton has done it with the Bengals before, where they were 10-6 almost every year, like 9-7 with Marvin Lewis. So like he can somehow sneak in and they can host a playoff game and then get run down by the Rams or the Cardinals or whoever has to come in there and play them.
I like the Giants' schedule out of the bye. They play Cincinnati, Seattle. Arizona is going to be a tough one.
Seattle too.
Yeah, Seattle too. Well, we'll see. We don't know. Are they slipping away in the second half? Yeah, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Baltimore's a tough one, and then we see Dallas week 17. So that may be the deciding factor.
That's for
in
fifth.
week
That's
17.
for 5 wins right there. Oh wait, what are you guys right now?
3-7, I believe.
Okay, so that'll be for the 6th win. That'll make you 6-10 if you beat the Dallas Cowboys for that one. So I think the Eagles are going to be the ones that sneak in, unless Dallas pulls off a miracle comeback. I think the Eagles sneak in because of the tie.
We have a pretty similar schedule going too. We also play the Seahawks, and we play the Cowboys, and we play the Cardinals.
And they play the Packers as well. That's going to be, and the Saints.
Packers
Yeah,
Saints,
they got a tough schedule too. And then they end up wrapping it up against the division with Dallas and Washington in week 16 and 17. Yeah, so this division, we're going to be talking about this for weeks to come.
Right through Christmas.
Yeah, right through Christmas. It's going to be a bumpy ride. And I just want to say thank you for everybody that's checking us out today, especially out there on YouTube. Thank you guys for joining back in. Shout out to Mob GG, Justin, Minnie Jordan, all you guys checking in on a weekly basis, on a every time we do a show. We appreciate you guys, and we're here for you guys to help you win your leagues. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't on YouTube. For all of us, you can find us at TIR_pod on Twitter. And I'm going to take us out. I am James, the FF_chef. You find me on Twitter. You see the tag on there at FF_chef. I don't know why I tagged myself with the underscore. That's pretty weird. But I stay cooking in the kitchen, man. And when I'm not cooking in the kitchen, I'm cooking hot takes up. We get to roll out with that one. Mr. Swanson, would you like to say your adieu, sir?
Yeah, sure. You pretty much said it, Chef. Very well said. Thank you to everybody returning viewers here on YouTube. Mob GG, Manny Jordan, Justin, thank you for coming in. Vince, my wine guy, thank you for stopping in and saying hello. It was a great week. Thank you, everybody who was here on Sunday. Again, everybody drove the show on Sunday. I look forward to it every week. It's great. I know I showed up a little late coming back from that wedding, but you guys held it down. You did a great show. Tonight at 8:00, James and Juan will be going on with FF Intervention to do their big trade show, right? Like the trade deadline. Is that the actual name of it? Okay. Yeah, there's a lot going on in there. So please head over and check that show out. A lot of great content on there. A lot of really hardworking people in the industry that can really do a lot for you to help you win your league. And it's coming down to it, man. We got 6 weeks left. You can find me at FFJawn, JAWN Swanson on Twitter. I love you guys. Thank you, everybody. Juan, say goodbye.
Yeah, I'm Juan Carlos Pena. You can find me at FF One of a Kind. And like Mr. Swanson said, we'll be on at 8:00 with the entire team. There's going to be 10 analysts on the screen. Everybody's going to be talking about their trade ideas and their trade scenarios going into this week. It's going to be a fun show. There's going to be drinking, point scoring. Like, it's going to be a live show, and we're going to have a good time. If you don't hit that, you'll see us on Wednesday. We'll be back recording the podcast. The Tilt is Real. Find our articles on thetiltisreal.com. Chef is on Ball Blast. Go check him out, and go check out his articles at Ball Blast FF. He's got great work coming in there. He did a deep dive on Antonio Gibson that everybody should definitely go and check out.
And then he put up 2 touchdowns.
And then he puts up 2 touchdowns, So, yeah, we're doing
right
big
on point.
We appreciate everyone at Join Our Circle _ TIR_pod, thetiltisreal.com. See you on Wednesday. Peace.
Until next time, peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Tilt is Real Fantasy Podcast. Check out our website at thetiltisreal.com for weekly articles, breakdowns, and more. Follow us on Twitter at TIR_pod. We'll see you Tilters next week.